Simpsons Index, an online spreadsheet that is also a podcast. This is the podcast. Coming to you from SideQuest Studios, this is the Simpsons Index, episode 245. Hello out there, my name is Elliot J. O'Neill. I'm your host, and joining me here as always, except when he's not, is BT Calloway.
This is your MVP, your most valuable podcast.
Yeah. And joining us all the way from beautiful Victoria is Murphy McLaughlin.
Yo, yo, yo. Yeah, we struggled a bit with the time zone difference, but I think we made it work, guys.
Well, at least you're not in Japan, my God.
Coming to you across time.
Have you had any Japanese guests?
No, but I found out the other day it was only 2 hours behind. It's really weird. You think of Japan as so far away, but it's like less of a time difference than Perth.
Yeah. I was about to say. But no, thanks so much for having me back on the pod, guys. Looking forward to it.
No, absolutely. And yeah, this is the Simpsons Index. We review Simpsons and we have wonderful guests on and our returning guests. We like to ask, have you been keeping up with the show? I guess you have because of your Simpsons podcast.
It makes sense.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, I do a podcast where we focus on the first 8, which is now, a fifth of... maybe not that
getting
small.
There.
Getting there. No, we focus on the first 8, but because I have a Simpsons podcast, and I'm on the Twitter, I'm on the Facebook, I'm on the Instagram, I'm following...
I'm on the pulse.
Constantly seeing what's happening in the current seasons, and there's a lot of morbid curiosity as well. So I do find myself occasionally, especially when it's so easy with Disney Plus now, just chucking on a newer episode, and I usually give up after about 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's similar. Like, I've been finding myself in my, just feel like phone scrolling something. It's like, yeah, this is kind of future research, but yeah, sort of similar thing. Like, there's a big belief that The Simpsons are back, and, I watch some of these newer seasons, and yeah, I'm the same. I just end up engrossed in whatever's on my phone and forget about the thing I'm watching.
Back,
yeah,
baby.
that has been, the thing the last, during this season in particular, right? It's like, The Simpsons is back, which it seems to really be mainly driven by this one guy who writes for The Vulture and has that podcast called Goodman. I forget his name.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I used to listen to that podcast. I haven't listened to it in a very long time, but yeah, so the basic premise, he does the research into a good joke and whatever, like he did Gilbert Gottfried's Aristocrats, for example. And yeah, I saw that. I didn't listen to it, but he did a big review about Lisa the Boy Scout, I believe it was. Yeah.
I find him actually, look, I'm sure he seems like a lovely bloke, but I actually find him very irritating. Look, hey, people probably think the same about me, which is fair, but yeah, I find him quite an annoying interviewer, actually. So I like a lot of the guests he's had on that pod, but I often turn off the pod because he frustrates me. No, he's one of the big people pushing that The Simpsons is back. It's as good as it used to be. And I think you guys have said on this pod, it seems to be there's a lot of the novelty episodes get a lot of, they're in the news and stuff, but
it's certainly better, but
yeah.
Well, yeah, I actually I was going to go on this whole thing, but it links to the episode we're talking about, so I'll shut my mouth for now.
Well, yeah, let's do the preamble. So yeah, in the spirit of that, I haven't been rushing us to do some of those episodes from season 34, 33 or whatever that have been more headline grabby, the Lisa the Boy Scout where they did that hacktivist episode or the vlog one, or the It parody. I'm really interested in, okay, well, what's the in-between episodes?
Yeah.
Do they support the Simpsons is back theory? So,
sorry to interrupt you, but even then, those novelty episodes, I don't actually think are that fantastic, to be honest. I did like the Fargo one from a couple of seasons back, but I watched that Lisa the Boy Scout, which is the one they're all saying is A+++.
Yeah.
It was okay, but I actually don't think it was that amazing.
We done that one? I can't remember.
No, I don't know if you've seen it yet, Beach, but it's like this weird sketch show where these people take over The Simpsons and show alternate timeline versions. I don't exactly remember what went on. It was a bit chaotic as well. But
premise is pretty good.
We'll get to it.
Yeah, you'll get to it. You'll get to it. Just save it.
No spoilers.
Save it for the pod.
Yeah. But anyway, this one. So this was season 34, episode 11, Top Goon. First released in December of 2022, it was directed by Chris Clemens, written by Joel H. Cohen in this episode. Mo is the coach of the kids' Pee-wee hockey team, and Bart's the star player, but he's too small. He keeps getting gooned out by all these big goons, so Mo gets a goon, and what better goon than Nelson Muntz? And they have a little bit of a friendship develop out of this. Hey, guys, what did we think?
If I didn't have to watch this for your pod, it would have been one of the ones I turned off after 5 minutes, guy.
Yeah, look, I'm going to be a little nice to this one. I didn't dislike a lot of it, but there were no laugh out louds. We'll put it that way.
No, it was painfully unfunny, but
100%.
But like premise alone, so I try to cater the episode to the guest somewhat, and this one starts out not with The Simpsons, it's Mo Sislak. And I didn't mind that as a touch, and honestly, Nelson and Mo, town scuzzballs, like, premise alone, I'm on board.
Oh yeah, look, we've even said before, we've had 34 seasons of The Simpsons. It's okay to go to, B and C characters and give them a story. So yeah, for that, I'm on board. And it's an okay structure, but there's some problems.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think the premise is actually pretty good, even though, they've done the whole hockey thing, the kids hockey thing with Lisa on Ice, but hey, that was 50 years ago, I think they're allowed to repeat that sort of thing. But yeah, Nelson and Mo, pairing them up, great idea. But I did not laugh once during this whole episode.
Nah, just really going through the motions on it. And let's hook into this one and get to our feelings. We'll start with you, BT. For better or worse, what's a moment from this one that stands out to you?
I'm going to kind of go for the worse in the sense that Mo is suddenly coaching. Like he goes from having the King Toots guy brag to him about how he sponsors a little Pee-wee hockey team and, oh, look, I got this trophy. And then Mo stews over it. And then all of a sudden he's the coach and there's no connecting tissue between the two. And it kind of reminded me of something like, when Homer becomes a teacher. There's a bit where he feels bad that people don't think he's smart, and then there's like actual things that go between that and him being a teacher. Like it's not a lot, but it's enough for him to connect those dots and for the audience to connect those dots, and it's just not there. Like he's just doing the same thing that this guy next to him is doing, but there's no moment of, this team needs a coach, or if you cough up $10 for skates, you'll be their sponsor or whatever. And, I mean, to be entirely fair to this episode, it is packed. Like, we go from the clouds straight into episode, but it just feels like a real sudden jump from, I feel bad because I'm a loser. Hey, I'm coaching this ice hockey team. Like, what was the in-between there?
Yeah, it felt like almost there was a deleted scene. And that whole cutting straight to the action, by the way, just going from, not The Simpsons, but most is like, is that something they do now for like every episode? It seems
it's weird. The 30s are like really guilty of it. It's sometimes you got a lot of episode, you got to get straight into it. But no, it does seem to be a trend with the 30s, which is weird because in the season 20 seasons, we were like complaining that like the couch gags were way too long and they were often these like 2 to 3 minute like extravagant set pieces that were like clearly existed just so they had something to put on YouTube. And in the 30s, it's more the trend just to, skip the town sweep, skip chalkboard, skip couch gag, and just go straight into episode. Yeah. But also seemingly not have enough episode to justify it.
I just find it incredibly jarring.
Yeah, it comes to our other more modern complaint is that a lot of these don't feel like they've been streamlined. They feel like they've just been left to kind of meander. And there's not a lot here I think would be, easily cut. But I feel like in the old days, a lot of what, we know from reviewing the deleted scenes on the Patreon podcasts. Check it out, patreon.com/SideQuestStudios. That a lot of those classic episodes actually had a lot of crap cut. Like sometimes they're very short but good scenes, and sometimes they're these running gags that are bad. And it's like obviously at one point someone went, "This doesn't work, take it out." And the fact they very clearly don't anymore, which is what this one feels like. It feels like we've all said it's a fairly solid premise, but it just needs a whole lot of refinement.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, we watched the animatic cut of the Treehouse of Horror, the shitting episode, and there's like this 3-scene recurring joke that's just basically saying that John Denver sucks. And it's like, I don't even know how this was there in the first place, but it does really speak to the sort of doomsday process that they used to go to that, just doesn't seem to exist here. But how about you, Murph? What's a moment from this episode that stands out to you for better or worse?
Look, a lot of jokes didn't work for me, but one in particular where I was just like, what? Was at the end when all the mobsters are crying and Fat Tony goes, millennials. Like,
Oh, yeah, I got some
What does
notes.
that mean? They're not millennials.
It's so weird.
All right, there's a lot to unpack here, so let's just go. First of all, they would be now, I guess, because they would be men in their 40s, and fair enough, time in The Simpsons is a difficult conversation. So I had the initial reaction of, they're not at them, and like, oh, I guess they would be now. But the other thing is, so this starts off with, skip to the end of the story. Nelson is about to break some guy's legs for Fat Tony. Mo runs in. He's all like, I'm sorry, I thought you were just, a thug to knock people over for me. You're more than that. You're a person and you matter. And that's the big heart moment. And then you suddenly shift to all the mobsters turning to Fat Tony and be like, hey, sometimes I feel like you just think I'm a knife or a gun or whatever. And then Tony pitches them as such and they all start crying. And he's like, Melissa's like, are we supposed to think that having feelings and having your feelings validated are good as per the heart moment between Nelson and Mo? Or are we supposed to think that having feelings is bad and weak like the millennials joke? It's like, which do you want? Because you literally tried to have both and it's not even undermining the moral point of the story in a way that's clever or interesting. It's just a joke to go out on.
Yeah.
No, it's just a weird thing to introduce Fat Tony this late into the story.
Oh, yeah. I literally
And
wrote
it's
down,
like,
Fat Tony comes in with 5 minutes left, including credits.
yeah. And it's not like this recurring thing that could have been introduced at the start of the story where, Nelson has a temptation or like his pointless bullying is getting him in trouble and this is keeping him away from that.
No. Give us one scene of Fat Tony at the hockey game who says to, Nelson, I like how you bust kids up. Come see me if you ever want a job. That's it. That's one scene that would take you 10 seconds.
Even the introduction of Nelson, to be honest, into the story, I thought was a bit lazy. Mo just sees him on the bus. And then he gets off the bus. Like, it's not even like a clever way of introducing him into the plot. Mo literally just notices him while on the bus. I'm just like, come on, there's got to be a more clever way of bringing him into it.
Yeah, like, oh, Bart, that's a nasty bruise on you. The opposing team really roughed you up good. Oh, no, that wasn't them. That was my bully. Bam.
Yeah.
Easy.
Perfect.
Bully, hey?
I mean, it's like what you were saying before, Beach, with like, where's the connection between, Mo at the start of the story and he coaches the hockey team? Homer is in the bar. That's your conduit. Like, that's your connecting tissue. Like, Homer complains about the ice hockey thing. Mo overhears. He's the coach. Bam, boom, done.
Oh, yeah. I was actually thinking, like, even I wasn't crazy about the whole reason for him getting into it was the rivalry thing, which you've seen more new episodes than I have. Is King Toot like a regular character?
Coincidentally enough, we just reviewed like a season 32 episode the other week, and that had him starring in a starring role as well.
Yeah, that character model.
Yeah. So,
as well.
So returning as King Toot is Will Forte, who in the past weeks since we recorded that episode, I now know it's pronounced Will Forte.
Yeah.
And not Will Fort.
Well, I like Will Forte. Big fan of a lot of the projects he's been involved in, but I felt that his voice didn't match the character. Am I being overly harsh here? But I don't know.
Look, it's weird because he's a big kind of shirt open, little bit heavy set guy, and it's a very high voice for him. I kind of thought the same as well. It's not bad per se, but
Weirdly, I do remember an episode we watched ages ago where he had more of like an accent and European affectation to his voice, and like it just feels like that they've I might be misremembering it, but it is kind of weird to have that character model and just, hey, I'm Will Forte.
Yeah,
like, that's not his voice, but
for people who've not seen this, imagine like the crab collage guy. It kind of looks like him, but you get Will Forte.
Yeah, which I don't know. I think either change the voice or change the design, but that annoyed me a bit. But even I think you could have gone leaned harder into the Mighty Ducks parody.
Sure.
And had Mo be done for something and have to do community service even.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mo's always doing shady shit. Have him I don't know, even drink driving or something, and in the movie, and that's why he's coaching the team. Just because I think the primary that's a word they use a lot in the episode. The main thing here, which I think really had potential, was Mo being a fatherly figure to Nelson.
Yeah.
So I don't really think you needed that whole him and King Toot rivalry.
No, there's already a motivation.
No, it almost makes it feel like a bit of a contrived setup is just, hey, I have a trophy, but I have a music store. It just a few too many weird steps that you just kind of go, okay, whatever, let's get on board. And you're right, it's just could have been done a lot more efficiently. But the thing that stands out to me is the Top Goon Academy, and boy, did they really love this pun that they came up with Top Goon and Top Gun, and they kept playing like the Top Gun-esque guitar sting. I guess, I don't know. I don't even remember if I've seen Top Gun. I didn't catch Maverick. Either of you guys are Top Gun fans?
I mean, I've seen it.
Top Gun, I actually only watched for the first time like a year ago.
Yeah, right.
And not a fan.
No.
I thought because, I knew going in it was going to be a dumb action movie. And I'm all for like 80s action films that have dumb plots or shit acting or whatever, as long as it's a fun watch, right? But I didn't really even enjoy it in that regard, but I'm definitely in the minority. People probably listen to this being like, what the fuck? This guy doesn't even like Top Gun. But
You got Scientologists on you now.
Yeah.
yeah, but no, you don't have to have seen Top Gun though. Like it was a pretty. I don't even know if the writers had seen it because there wasn't
wasn't really a whole lot of parody element. Honestly, this felt a lot more like Homer's Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp because they have a bunch of teachers that I'm assuming are hockey people. I don't know who they are, but that's fine. Not everything is designed for me.
I can vouch for two of them, Dave Schultz and Tiger Williams, who did little more than sort of grunts in one line. But the main guy, the main teacher who was like the Grim Reaper and like doing most of the teaching was just one of the Simpsons regulars. I didn't catch if that was a real guy. Maybe he is, but yeah, from my research, it indicates it was not. But yeah, how do we like the whole Top Goon Academy and that whole thing?
No good. Probably one of the weak. During that, I was just like, ugh.
Well,
that's probably when I felt the most bored actually during that montage.
Yeah, look, me too. I can say maybe a hockey fan would have enjoyed this more. It does bring me to my other note of there is a hole in your script. Because, when they put Nelson on the ice... Yeah. Oh, there's a hole in your script, Eliza, a hole. When they first put Nelson on, they win the game, and then the referee comes over and says, hey, he's not wearing skates, that's a disqualification. And then, they lose the game. So then Moe's talking to Nelson, and Nelson's like, I suck. Man, now everyone's a loser because of me. And he's like, no. You did great. All you need is some training. It's like, no. That's not the thing he needed. He did perfectly. What he needed was skates. And it's...
Oh, man, 100%. I was thinking the same. I thought what was going to happen is Nelson just needed to actually learn how to skate or learn the basic rules of hockey. Like he'd got the beating them up part down pat. But then no, they take him to Goon Academy. It's like, he already knows how to do that.
Yeah. That was not the problem.
So then, when they tie in the montage with like joke training things like throwing a hockey stick like it's you're at Maniacs and you're doing an axe throwing thing, that becomes extra fucking silly because that's not the thing you have a problem with.
Yeah.
It's like...
It is like
yeah. Like I almost wanted them to get back, to the game and Nelson gets disqualified again because he doesn't have skates. You didn't fix the problem.
Yeah. That would have been funny. What also missed opportunities. So look, I know you're going to have, if it's an episode based around secondary characters, that's fine. I don't care if the Simpsons aren't in it that much. But Lisa, as established in Lisa on Ice, is an amazing hockey player.
Yeah.
That's the whole shtick of that episode is that Bart and Lisa become rivals and she's really good at hockey.
Yeah.
Work that into it. Like, embrace the fact you've done it before. Maybe have Lisa be the one that trains Nelson to be good at hockey. I don't know.
Yeah, they have history as well. So, ties in.
Now, the only contractual obligation line we get from Lisa, as far as I remember, is she gets a participation trophy from soccer. And there's a line I kind of liked, but in context, it doesn't make any sense, where Marge is like, oh, good for you, sweetie. I know how hard you strive to participate. And it's like, Lisa achieves. She does not participate. But I mean, it's a sports thing.
And I hadn't really thought about it. Why wasn't Lisa in the team? Why didn't they just make Lisa a member of the team?
Or even just a line about why she's not. Maybe she's like, I don't like it. It brings out in me a lot of bloodlust and breaking of teeth.
And that'd tie into like Nelson asking her for help, and she's like, oh man, it could be so much better. How is it that, we're like 20 minutes into this and we've already workshopped so much?
That's what we do, man, because they don't workshop.
But I will say the thing that I did like about Nelson with the cafeteria things, and maybe my one chuckle, I don't remember if it was laugh out loud, but I did think it was funny, where Mo was like, oh yeah, where does it say in the rules? Oh, literally the first rule. And you think he's going to say must wear skates, and it's like, cannot use cafeteria trays. Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't bad. Yeah. There was one joke that, I literally didn't laugh out loud the whole thing, but there were a couple times where I did think in my head, that's a good joke.
Yeah.
And one of them was when Homer has it's his first day of not going to hockey, and he turns on the TV and goes, "Ooh, hockey."
Yeah.
I thought that was all right. And then Marge had a line as well then about taking Bart to the doctor and saying, for insurance, if anyone asks, Bart's a veteran.
Yeah.
I thought that, in my head, I thought, not a bad joke.
Yeah, I had a similar thing where I was writing down a lot of lines and I'm like, I didn't actually laugh at any of these, but I did think the words, "Oh, that's funny," which is an interesting reaction to a joke. One was, Moe's grumbling about his life and he does have the line of, "I only got one light bulb and I got to take it from room to room." Like, okay, that's a funny concept.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I must have missed that one. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it was in that scene, in the opening scene, where he's grumbling through all the holidays and everyone in the background's changing costumes. And
right, yeah.
And weirdly, Barney's wearing a Wario costume that is the exact same one of his palette swaps from Super Smash Brothers. Anyway, I hate that my brain is filled with that detail. But anyway, I found myself thinking of that, not of the actual scene, because it just kind of I mean, much the same with Homer complaining about having to take Bart to a hockey thing. It just gets so repetitive and dull by the end. It's not even a good running gag. It's just...
I will say...
I was getting bored of it. I felt like Homer watching the hockey during this episode.
Yeah, I did like the opening gag of that, which is Marge's like, "Oh, it's good, father-son bonding." So it's not bonding, it's me driving with him on his phone, then him playing sports while I'm on my phone, and then both of us on our phone on the way home. I didn't like the way home bit, but it was like...
I didn't mind, actually, the follow-up line. Homer goes, "Can I have some money to bet on the game?" But only because this has actually become a real thing in that, either amateur or, sometimes in fucked up situations, actual children's sports games, that there's people watching the games and relaying information for other people to bet on it. It's ABC did an expose on it. It's really fucking weird.
Is that I'm assuming that's Australian ABC?
Yes.
That said, this whole bit does lead us to my biggest no on this episode, which was we learned that Police Chief Wiggum is into feet.
Oh, and he wants to know about Marge's feet.
Yeah.
Hey, Wiggum, she's got webbed feet.
Yeah. I found that really frustrating. And speaking about all these missed opportunities now from this episode, I'm getting more frustrated because
that'll happen.
It could have been good. But all the character, you had all these characters like Krusty, Rainier Wolfcastle, Dr. Hibbert, Wiggum, because their kids are on the team.
Yeah.
Perfect opportunities for hilarious lines from those characters. Instead, you've got Wiggum annoying Homer by talking about his wife and feet. I'm like, this is not a good use of Wiggum.
Yeah,
no.
someone's kid is on a Pee-wee hockey team and they are mad about it.
Exactly. When we're talking about Simpsons on the Simpsons Index, we like to talk about the two pillars of what makes a great Simpsons episode. The classic ones had a great balance of wackiness and heart. So, how was the wacky elements in this episode? How did they use the animation space?
Quite a few. I wrote down raccoons on ice because it's in a montage. It's kind of okay where, they write down primary on a garbage bag, then tie it to Nelson, and a bunch of raccoons attack him. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if none of the wackiness in this really got to me. I guess there was that dumb joke of the blimp speeding off.
Yeah.
That was
the screeching
lame,
tires.
I thought. But I was thinking going into this pod today, it's funny a lot of the issues with The Simpsons now, it's it sucks for different reasons that it sucked 15, 20 years ago.
Sure.
Because I feel that was definitely an issue with it back in the day. It was too wacky. It was ridiculous and it was the really silly, stupid plots. Now, honestly, like we've said, the plot itself was not a bad idea, and there wasn't that much surreal shit happening. It's just it wasn't funny, right?
Yeah. No, but in terms of animation, we're very much in this Disney era of the show where the characters are also rubbery with their animations and really overly expressive. And yeah, it's a weird thing where they've, like you said, Murph, removed a lot of the surreal fucking nonsense shit, but added in this rubbery way of animating the characters that they strove very hard to fight against back in season 1 when they were establishing the show and creating its style. They were no, we don't want it to look like fucking Disney or Hanna-Barbera or any of that shit. And yeah, it's really disappointing that it kind of does now because that was kind of their charm. They were animated, but they were mostly static.
Animation drives me nuts on this show now. Yeah, I think that's another big problem I have with the new ones, because like, you watch your season, I don't know, 15, 20 episodes, and I think the animation had gotten a lot more digital and, moved away from what was great about in the early years, but it wasn't that bad. But now it's just, I use the term like robotic.
Yeah.
I feel like it's you can tell it was done on a computer, right? I mean, I don't know. I just like for my pod, when we've been watching those early seasons, it's just so refreshing, like watching a classic episode and seeing how, like, you can see the heart in the drawing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because like things like the ice, like technically, yeah, it looks better than what it looked like on Lisa on Ice, but it feels like this autofill thing where they've gone like add ice effect rather than, drawn it in with as simple lines as they could muster for the time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Another bit of whack that I actually did like was, whatever event Fat Tony's at and someone takes a photo of a guy and he clicks his fingers and Nelson runs over and says, private event, no cameras, and pulls the film out of his camera phone.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah.
I was actually just confused by that.
It was not what I was expecting. Yeah.
I thought I'd missed something. I thought he took the photo on a phone, but Nelson's taking film out. Oh, so that was the gag.
Yeah.
Okay, whoops. I missed that.
Well, on the other side of it, how was the heart? Nelson and Mo in this sort of parental
Bonding over being like the creepy schlubs of the world.
Yeah, and how did we like how they landed the heart and the emotional moments?
There should have been more. That was like frustrating that I felt nothing.
Yeah.
I got a little bit for when Nelson's got his graduation and he doesn't expect anyone to show up and then Mo does. Like that.
Now, someone bothered me because I'm like, of course you did. That's the reason you're there. But that said, I did like the other scene later with Nelson's mum where Mo realizes, he wasn't being a goon for Bart, he was being a goon for me, and it's like, okay, that's nice. That said, the big moment when in Fat Tony's basement when they're meant to be beating up the King Toots guy. Like, again, it has the problem we've mentioned many times in modern Simpsons where background stuff will have jokes that are there to keep you entertained during the important plot information.
Yeah.
So this one, in the middle of the moment of emotional crescendo, the heart moment of the episode, you have Johnny Tightlips in the background crying and wiping his eyes with salami. And it's like, first of all, if you loved that joke, move it to literally 10 seconds later when the goons are all when the mobsters are all crying, and then you could do it there. And second of all, if you have to put a joke in the background of your heart moment, you don't believe in your heart moment, so make it better. Don't be like, they're going to be bored by this emotional core, let's throw a joke in there.
Yes.
And they do this all the fucking time.
Yeah. I felt the whole third act, like, episode really like quite paint by numbers, which like Mo saying that kid's never gonna come up, and then Nelson goes, I'm here, or who called for a psycho, and then Nelson being like, he's not gonna come, and then Mo comes, and then Mo looking for Nelson. I just thought it was very like they were just following the usual steps there, and like that's fine, but if you're going to like do all the usual plot points, like maybe hang a lantern on it or make like a joke about it, but they just kind of did it.
Yeah, it felt really like they're trying to subvert, but in that it was like totally expected. Like, yeah, it wasn't like far removed enough to be funny or unexpected or a satisfying turn in any way. Yeah.
Well, we're talking about that bit where Mo does rock up at the end of the graduation as well. I felt Nelson's line and a few of his lines actually in the episode were very weird deliveries from Nancy Cartwright. Like when he went, "You came!" And there's like a few lines that he does during the episode where I'm like, was that the first take? I don't know.
No, I mean, it's hard. Like, they're getting on, but, like, yeah, you just can't avoid it. Like, yeah, these voice actors just, one, don't sound like they used to, and two, like, yeah, it does feel like they're not getting the best possible takes out of them. They're just doing the, hey, kids, I'm talking crusty fucking version of it.
It was very funny, actually. I watched this episode with my wife. I watched the last one that we did for this pod with her as well, and I said, hey, you ready to watch another new episode of The Simpsons? And she was like, is it going to be better than that Halloween one we did last year? I was like, hey, let's go in open-minded.
Yeah, exactly.
And she was on her iPad after about 10 minutes in. But watching, because she hasn't seen any of the new ones really, especially the really new ones, and watching her face when Marge started speaking was so good. Her eyes just widened and she looked at me like, what the hell?
Yeah. No, it's wild, like, because we still speculate, what are they going to do when one of the core cast go away? And then now these days, it's like, oh shit, they can rebuild our performance with AI. Like,
Yeah, that's it. Have you seen, actually, we talked about this on a episode of my pod not long ago, but there's a Mr. Burns appearance in a recent episode where he really just sounds like Harry Shearer was like in a coma or something, and they
possibly. I know we've done one where it's just like that is not the enthusiasm for the character you usually get, and that's usually what carries you through in all these lines.
Yeah,
depending on what it was, but yeah, we've definitely seen something like that.
I think with Harry Shearer is kind of like two sides of it, because like he's obviously very old. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't. There might be people in their 80s listening to this.
He's real fucking old.
Yeah,
80's the new 30.
yeah, okay. But you know, he's not a spring chicken, and also he has a history of kind of shitting on the show and not. I mean, he was shitting on it back in season 9, so I can't imagine what he thinks now of the script. So he's probably not really committing. Plus, his voice has gone to shit. So
yeah, well, I mean, I know it's more par for the course from the last 3 years, but like for a long time, Harry Shearer, because he's been based in London for like the last decade, literally phoning it in, and I think maybe that can like be explained with Nancy's performance in this one as well, because I'm sure all of these voice actors have been going, hang on, working from home is fucking excellent. And yeah, we don't get much of them in the studio and actually bouncing off each other. Like, yeah.
And it's real. You watch a show like Bob's, particularly the first few seasons of Bob's Burgers. Oh man, it is so apparent how important it is having voice actors in a room together. You just, yes, technically you don't need them in the same room. Technically they can do it from the comfort of their own home. But, oh man, it just makes such a difference, I reckon.
No, absolutely. But ultimately, did this feel like an episode of The Simpsons? Are these the characters we know and love? Is this a show we know and love?
Beat by beat, yes, but the details and the overall feel of it, nah.
Yeah, like I honestly, no one was that out of character. It just, I don't know, man. I'm going to say sort of for my answer there.
Yeah. No, I mean, fuck, we bring this up so much. It's the at least you tried cake, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like this one doesn't, smack of the, do you even know what show you're working on? Like, it does feel like, all right, who haven't we gotten together yet to do a story? Let's say Mo and Nelson, and because of that, and I don't feel like they were against type at any point. I actually really like the term of like Nelson having the conflict of who's his actual primary, and that's kind of clever. Like, but yeah, again, just none of the material around of it was super satisfying.
Yeah, and look, I'm happy if that's how they want to come up with ideas for new episodes, like figuring out who hasn't been paired. Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hell of a lot better than just spinning a globe, picking a country, and say Simpsons go to there.
Yeah, and better than reusing ideas. I mean, you could argue they reused Lisa on Ice for this, but just how they pull it off. And I think that is just, what gets me so angry, with this one in particular, is just thinking about how they could have done it and how they could have actually made this a good episode.
Well, at least it's a different spin on the hockey thing, that episode was very much, it could have been any sport. It was just Bart and Lisa are opposed.
That's true.
Like, this one is a hockey-specific thing of the concept of a goon, which, I was unfamiliar with. And, to its credit, I felt like the episode did a decent explanation of why this role is important and everything, and how it does make sense that Nelson would be involved. Like, again, at least you tried. Like, it's damn sight better than a lot of episodes we've seen, certainly. But yes or no, would you watch this one again?
No.
Probably not. Like if it's on, I will go get my laundry. I won't fold my laundry and put it on, but
well, what are some better episodes that share some thematical elements? I mean, Lisa on Ice is the obvious one, but
Homer going to rock and roll fantasy camp I got big vibes from that one.
Well, when I was thinking earlier in the day, like, how could they have made this episode better? And I thought, maybe Mo's, drink driving. He did the old Mighty Ducks thing. And then I was like, hey, has Mo ever actually been drunk on the show? And because that could be a great, like, opening act, like, have Mo drunk. Looked it up, saw that, yes, he has on a recent episode called The Last Bar Fighter.
Oh, fuck, we reviewed that, and I totally forgot about it until you said that.
Well, then I went down a rabbit hole. I saw that you guys had just done it a few months ago, I think. And I went, you know what? I'm going to watch it. And I actually didn't mind it. I thought it was a decent episode. The last 5 minutes are a bit shitty. And I also am potentially just saying all this so your listeners don't hate me and think that I just hate all new episodes. I'm not just going out of my way to shit on the new ones. But no, that was like season 33, and I thought, not a bad idea. So that was like a Mo episode that was pretty well done, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, from memory, we thought, fair idea, not great execution. But,
yeah, but I mean, it's still got like a shiny bronze or something. Yeah, we all got into pretty stiff ranks on that one.
You guys, didn't shit on it too much. Yeah.
No, good call. Good pull. But what would we like to change about this one? I feel like we've covered it.
Yeah.
We did.
But BT, anything we might have missed?
Man, I think we covered just some of that connecting tissue. Cut out the entire Goon School thing. It doesn't really make sense that it's there. And just, the plug those holes with some actual scenes that makes sense. And make with a laugh. Come on.
Yeah. How about you, Murph?
Yeah, I think that's the big one. Like, just more jokes. Make the jokes that are in there funnier. Like, because seriously, I didn't laugh once. And yeah, like, so much potential in this episode. And as we were saying, like, get Lisa in there. Like, if she didn't need to be in the episode at all, that's fine. Like, you have to kind of put the family aside a little bit when you're focusing on secondary characters. But she could have been...
Yeah, just a line in passing about what she thinks of the game or what she thinks about the position of the Goon or anything.
Yeah.
The fact that she's got history with hockey and Nelson and is not involved in this episode is weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Homer plot, like, it hits its peak so early, like, it then just becomes a shitty running joke. Although I will say, there is something very clever about Homer running into the... Like, this is a very dumb cartoony joke, but he yells into the dough, it turns into a big ball, the chef pops it, and then it goes woohoo. Him yelling woohoo into dough when dough hears his catchphrase, I don't know if they were going for that, but that just made me go, clever. Again, didn't laugh out loud, but thought,
Yeah, same.
Well, he was going woohoo because he was glad he had to restrain it because he can't be happy that Bart's hurt, but it also means he doesn't have to go to the games anymore, so he can't yell dough.
But he yelled it into dough.
I know. Dough it into dough.
All right, it's time for our final notes.
Now it's time for our final notes. Everyone's final notes.
Murph, do you have some final notes about this one? Parts from the episode you want to mention before we rank it?
Covered pretty much everything, but King Toot, I reckon just either get rid of him or maybe explain their rivalry a bit more for those that don't know. And I wasn't a big fan of him. Also, in the older episodes, there's another dude that runs that shop.
Yeah.
He's the guy that when like Homer gets him to open the shop to get the reed or whatever it is for Lisa Sachs.
Number 4.5 reed, we know.
Yeah, and he has like that droopy dog voice. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. He's also in the flashback one where he buys the sacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
There was an established visual character, and I don't know why they changed character models, and we also know his voice. But I mean, fair enough, maybe just the new owner, whatever. But
I'm guessing they probably just forgot.
But yeah, it just does feel like one of these things where, like, I mean, at least it's a celebrity playing a character and not just themselves. But it just feels like, what if there was an actual King Toot? And it's no.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you got a few notes, Beach?
Always.
All right, I'll just get through mine. I've only got a couple left. Nelson, the really bad hockey. That just crammed that pun the fuck in there. Speaking of which, recently on a show we watched a compilation of all the fucking Bart's crank phone calls, and we get another one here, but Bart's moved on to texting now. And the very clever name of STD on my lip.
Again, like, I actually don't mind that they've, acknowledged that, hey, times have changed. Let's keep the prank calls going.
I was totally fine with that.
But I feel like they could have made it a better pun or just pulled it off better. It was like a bit of a missed opportunity, I thought.
Yeah, all my friends who are named Esty. Very common name.
To be fair, we did do Principal Charming a few months ago, and we did laugh at how easily Mo is fooled by some of the prank calls. It was homosexual.
Yeah.
Bart calls and says, I'm looking for homosexual.
Yeah.
And then Mo, there were only like 3 people in the bar, he would know them all. He knows Homer's right in front of him.
Yeah.
And he just
yeah.
goes, homosexual. I'm like, who has the surname sexual?
Exactly.
So, to be fair,
Yeah.
even back in the day, I was pretty easily fooled.
Ah, he even got
Yes.
fooled by that one where it was, I'm a stupid moron with an ugly face and a beard, but that is just not a name, sir.
Yes, that's right. Sexual is my middle name.
And actually, there was one animation moment I liked. I liked Nelson's mum making a grilled cheese on the bug zapper.
Yep. Yep.
I'll pay that
Yeah,
one.
that was fine.
You got some final notes, BT?
I do indeed. Mo calls Nelson a diamond in the urinal. I can't tell if I like it or not. I was like, yeah, sure.
missed that.
Sure.
That's actually-
you know
I
what?
don't mind
Sure.
it.
Yeah. There's a sign at the Top Goons Training Academy where today's bullies become tomorrow's thugs. Yeah, when he gets, becomes Top Goon and they give him the jacket and then immediately cut the sleeves off.
Oh, yeah. Actually, it was weird in the end part of the episode. Nelson just doesn't have his vest, and it's like winter? Anyway.
Yeah.
Again, small detail to get hung
Should
up
have had
on.
it on underneath the sleeveless goon vest, but what are you going to do? I mentioned that, so yeah, I believe that is all my notes already. Damn, that was fast.
That was fast.
Yeah, it was weird seeing Nelson without that, without his vest. It's sort of like whenever Marge doesn't have her pearls for whatever reason.
Yeah,
It's
it makes him look naked.
Yeah.
Like, it's also, I don't know if you're into pro wrestling, Murph, but it's like when a pro wrestler doesn't wear knee pads. Like, they just look so much more naked. Like, I mean, they're all mostly getting around in their undies and big boots. Like, it's weird how losing the knee pads makes them look so much more naked.
This
Anyway.
fascinates me, Ellie. Where can I hear a podcast about wrestling?
Well, you can check out mine and Dando from Four Finger Discount's new podcast, Good Day EW, where we're talking about AEW, but from Australian perspective.
My gosh, this is the podcast for me.
We'll get to plugs eventually, but first it's time to rank this thing. On the Simpsons Index, we rank using a 6-point scale, which starts down the bottom at failure. Maybe if the episode was just meh, you give it a participant. But for the positive rankings, you got okay bronze, good silver, excellent gold. But for the best of the very best, you give cubic zirconia. I'm going to go first. Let me show you how it's done. Look, flat old participant for this one. This is like they said, you strive to participate, and this one certainly did. Like, and it sucks because I almost want to give it a bronze for the effort of the story, which the fundamental thing of the story I do not have a problem with. In fact, I think it's kind of inspired. But yeah, the execution has just left me so wanting. So big old participant, BT.
Look, you stole my bit. I was going to use that same. I know how you strive for participation. Look, because I left my couch on kind of a bit more positive. I was like, like a shiny participant, or maybe a dull bronze, if I'm feeling generous. And then it's just discussion. It just made me realize how much those holes in it really do bother me, and even things like the millennial joke, which seems to serve only to undermine its own point, but not in a way that's interesting or fun, just because you need something. Yeah, that's just a lot of this just feels so mechanical because of that. Like, again, I wanted to praise the fact that there actually seems to be a lot more effort. That focusing on B characters makes sense. That this is the idea that Mo and Nelson would have a connection makes sense too. Him becoming kind of a father figure for Nelson, also good. None of these things go properly explored, and I'm just left with Blair, so participant from me.
And Murph, please finish it off.
Sort of the opposite of BT, where this discussion has actually made me think, the points that you have brought up, like some of the decent-ish gags and stuff. But no, I think I'm going to go with my feeling when I watched it, and
Always follow your gut.
failure. I've got it. Yeah.
Into the pit
Big
it
old
goes.
out.
The goon of this trio.
No, yeah, I mean, the fact that I didn't laugh once, like, come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And I think really, I sort of touched on this before, but the fact that they had a pretty good idea and they just threw it at the wall, like, it's like, oh, what are you doing? Like, it's like they're trying to go out of their way to fuck it up. I don't know. That kind of made me more angrier than if it had just been some really dumb shit plot. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, that's so legit that it didn't live up to the potential. Like, oh, is that? No, I'm on participant. I'm glad someone went failure.
It's like, I don't know. You had a chance and you blew it, right?
Yeah.
But I'm 2 for 2 now. I think last time I failed the up 2. Who knows? If you have me on again, third time's a charm.
Could he be the Index's harshest critic?
I'll try, man. But like, see, that's the thing. We've caught up with the first 20 years of the show, and like, we're scraping to find anything that we can be
Oh,
positive.
look, I don't mind. It's kind of cathartic to just rip into it.
That's
by
it.
all means, you can keep giving me stinkers. That's fine.
Yeah, that's it. You're watching all the good stuff on your podcast.
Exactly.
We need to bring you
Yeah.
down to what the reality of Simpsons is now.
You need to know how good you've got it.
But speaking of which, where can people find your show? What's it called? Who are you?
Yeah, so Murph's Tavern, it is where we focus on the first 8 seasons. Occasionally we do special episodes. Like we recently did a really fun one where we counted down the best characters. We got people to submit their favorite characters. We actually, the three of us, about to record a special episode. So definitely keep an eye out for that, listeners. We're going to be talking about the Simpsons Sing the Blues album from 1990. So but generally speaking, we talk about episodes from the first 8. I had some good ones lately. We did the Pretzel episode. Aaron Gox is on that one.
Goxie. Love Goxie.
Yeah. So that was great. He was in town for Melbourne Comedy Festival. So we chatted about Twisted World of Marge Simpson. I think the one that just came out is the mini golf episode.
Nice.
So that was funny to rewatch because Homer is just you talk about Homer being a dead shit in the later seasons. That's part of why the show turned shit, right? Is Homer just became such a jerk ass Homer, right? But oh man, he's such a fuckhead.
He sucks in that one. Like I had a real conflict of giving that episode Dead Putting Society a silver because I thought Homer was intolerable in that one.
Yeah. It has some real classic moments though. That whole scene where they're laughing at the letter Flanders wrote and they're bosom, that's golden. So check out Murph's Tavern. It's on all the usual places you can hear your podcasts. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that, man. And BT, what if people want to hear a lot more of us?
Well, as alluded to before, they can go to patreon.com/SideQuest Studios, which is the blanket for everything we do here, not just the Simpsons Index. And there you can go and get over 100 exclusive podcasts available to you right now for less than the price of a cup of coffee. It's a bargain. It's a steal. It's a deal. It's sale of the fucking century. What do you want?
Yeah, so you get over there for your money. You're getting a new podcast every single week. I know we don't exactly release weekly anymore on the Index, but you can guarantee over at our Patreon, you get a new one every week. A lot of Simpsons-focused content. As we alluded to before, we've got a podcast called DVD Indextras, where we're checking out the bonus stuff, the bonus content from the DVD box sets.
The bonus scenes.
Yes, and also, we've got this other podcast we've been doing for the last year now called Starring Springfield, where we review movies that star the cast of The Simpsons. And
I saw you did Grosse Point Blank recently.
yeah, that was a really interesting watch. Yeah,
I really like that film.
Yeah, kind of an underrated one for John Cusack. I think the movie needed a serious edit, but
it's I hadn't seen it until a few years ago. I watched it and I did rewatch recently as well. Yeah, I think I'm a fan of that one. And you watched it because Hank Azaria's in it, right?
Yeah. He's playing a cop in that movie. A lot of the suggestions end up being Hank Azaria. He's kind of got a pretty prolific filmography. Yeah,
He shows up a lot.
But so that's a lot of fun. One of the Patreon perks as well is you get to suggest the movies that we review. And most of the time we have to really dig hard. I was appreciative of Grosse Point Blank because it was just on Disney Plus. So
we've had to really search the internet before for some of these weirder ones.
Yeah, until then, also catch us on Murph's Tavern. Really excited to talk about Simpsons Sing the Blues. I can't believe I never listened to that album until this weekend. And my God.
What an
we'll
album.
get into it.
Save it for the pod.
We'll get into it. All right, but that's about does it for here. Once again, thank you very much, Murph.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. Been a pleasure.
And thank you, BT.
Ahoy. Ahoy.
And I've been Elliot J. O'Neill. That's all the mustard in the house. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Simpsons Index podcast, which is also an online spreadsheet available at thesimpsonsindex.com. You can also check out our other shows, like Pulp Fury Radio, our scripted fiction podcast, which tells all original stories across a range of pulp genres, and Thrones of Game, where we review Game of Thrones in reverse order. Links to those podcasts and more will be available in the show notes. And now please stay tuned for the bonus scenes!
In this episode, Mo Sislak is the coach of the...
Oh. Did Elliot just freeze for you?
He
as
did.
Well, BJ?
So, we'll see if he comes back. But in this episode, Mo begins
Oh, did I pause? Sorry.
coaching a hockey team. And, I assume you got it all on your accord then.
Yeah.
Also, sorry, BT, I called you BJ because of Elliot J. And, yeah.
It's fine. It was actually BJ for a while, a long time ago.
Oh, there you go.
That has some weird connotations
But you changed your middle name from Jomas to Thomas.
Don't give away my mystique.
I'll roll it back anyway. In this episode...